We live in a world obsessed with hacks, quick fixes, and overnight success. But when it comes to your mindset, your mentality, there are no shortcuts. There are only foundations. There are only principles. If you want to grow, you must be willing to go deep, not fast. Let's talk about 5 ways to truly improve your mentality, not for the moment, but for life. When we face challenges, setbacks, or negative emotions, it's easy to treat the surface level symptoms, whether it's procrastination, anxiety, anger, or fear. We often focus on these outward reactions, trying to fix them. But here's the truth. If we only address the symptom, we're never truly solving the problem. We're simply putting a Band-Aid over it. The real work begins when we stop treating the surface and start addressing the root cause. To improve your mentality, you must be willing to explore what's underneath the reaction and the patterns. If you want to change the way you think, feel, or act, you have to be willing to ask the tough questions about why you think, feel, and act in the first place. For example, let's take procrastination, a common challenge for many people. The immediate reaction might be to tell yourself, I need to stop procrastinating. I need to be more disciplined. But if you only focus on trying to push yourself harder or be more focused, you're still dealing with the surface level. You may get a temporary fix, cycle will repeat. Instead, if you dig deeper and ask yourself, why do I procrastinate? What's really going on underneath this behavior? You might uncover fears that you weren't consciously aware of. Perhaps you're afraid of failing. Maybe you're overwhelmed by perfectionism, or it could be that you're simply not clear about your purpose or the value of the task. Until you understand the root cause, the behavior will surface. This concept applies to all areas of your mentality. When you get frustrated by setbacks, it's easy to blame external factors, other people, the circumstances, or even bad luck. But in reality, the way you respond to externals is often a reflection of internal beliefs. If you believe you're not capable, that you don't deserve success, or that failure defines you, that belief becomes the lens through which you see everything. Your mindset shapes your reality. This is where real growth begins. Choose to stop looking at the surface and start going deeper. When you ask yourself, what do I believe about myself? Why do I think this way? When you begin to understand the root, you can start to change the narrative. You can break down the limiting beliefs and patterns that have held you back. It's not easy. It requires self-awareness, honesty, and the courage to confront uncomfortable. But it's in this process of deep self-examination that we find the freedom to grow. Once you address the root cause, it's like unlocking a door to a new way of thinking. You no longer feel trapped by old patterns because you've understood why they exist, and you've actively chosen to change them. And here's the beautiful thing about addressing the root. It's not just about solving one problem. When you understand the underlying causes of your behavior and your emotions, you can shift the way you approach every challenge in life. You're no longer reacting to life from a place of fear, insecurity, or frustration. Instead, you approach challenges with clarity, confidence, and a deeper understanding of yourself. The key is to remember that addressing the root doesn't happen overnight. Journey, one that takes patience, practice, and continuous self-reflection. You might not always find the root immediately, and you may not always like what you uncover, but the moment you begin to ask the right questions and dig beneath the surface, you're already on the path to real transformation. So the next time you find yourself frustrated with a setback or struggling to change a habit, don't just focus on the immediate problem. Take a step back and ask yourself, what's really going on here? What's the deeper reason behind this behavior? By getting to the root, you can begin to make lasting changes that will transform not just your actions, but your entire mindset. The environment we surround ourselves with has a profound impact on our mentality. We often hear people talk about how they want to change, grow, or achieve more, but what many fail to recognize is that the environment plays a significant role in determining whether or not they will succeed. If you are not intentional about the people, places, and things that surround you, you can easily find yourself stagnant, stuck, and unable to break free from old habits and limiting beliefs. It's often said that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a reflection of the truth. The people around you influence your thoughts, your beliefs, and your behaviors in ways that can be either empowering or debilitating. If you are surrounded by individuals who constantly complain, settle for mediocrity, or discourage your growth, it becomes incredibly difficult to maintain a positive and growth-oriented mentality. Their negativity can become your reality. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who challenge you, support your ambitions, and push you to think bigger, your mentality begins to shift in powerful ways. They force you to examine your limitations, question your comfort zones, and adopt a mindset that is focused on growth, progress, and success. Positive and driven individuals have the ability to elevate you simply by being around them. Their energy is contagious. You start to see what's possible rather than what's impossible. But the influence of your environment isn't limited to the people you interact with. The physical space you occupy has a significant impact on your mindset as well. Your environment is a reflection of the way you think, and it in turn shapes your thinking. If you are constantly surrounded by clutter, chaos, or disorder, it can be hard to think clearly, focus, and stay motivated. A disorganized space can leave you feeling overwhelmed and mentally drained, whereas a clean, organized environment can help foster clarity, creativity, and productivity. Places you spend your time also matter. If you are frequently in environments that drain you, whether that's a toxic workplace, negative social circles, or even a dull and uninspiring home, your mindset will inevitably reflect that. You'll struggle to find the motivation to keep moving forward. In contrast, when you are in spaces that are uplifting, inspiring, and aligned with your values, your mentality naturally begins to shift toward one that is more positive and proactive. The media and information you consume are another critical part of your environment. The news, social media, books, and podcasts you expose yourself to all play a significant role in shaping your mindset. If you're constantly absorbing negative news, fear-based content, or toxic online discussions, it becomes hard to maintain a healthy mental state. Your mind will be saturated with negativity, fear, and doubt, which will inevitably seep into your thinking. On the other hand, when you consciously choose to consume content that inspires you, educates you, and challenges you to grow, your mentality becomes aligned with those positives. Your thinking shifts to one that is solution-focused and possibility-oriented. Auditing your environment means taking a close look at all the factors that contribute to your mental state. It's about being intentional with who and what you allow into your life. If you find that the people around you are holding you back, it might be time to reevaluate those relationships. If your physical space is cluttered and disorganized, take the necessary steps to clean it up and create an environment that fosters productivity. If the media and information you consume are not serving you, make the decision to curate your inputs so they align with your goals and values. Changing your environment doesn't happen overnight, and it requires ongoing effort, but the results are profound. When you intentionally shape your environment, you set yourself up for success. You place yourself in positions where growth, positivity, and success are more likely to happen. And as your environment improves, your mentality begins to shift and your capacity for achieving your goals increases exponentially. In the end, your environment is not just something you exist in, it's something that actively shapes who you are and who you are becoming. If you want to improve your mentality, you have to take control of the spaces you occupy, the people you engage with, and the information. When you audit and improve your environment, you set the stage for a mindset that is geared toward growth, success, and limitless potential. The way we speak to ourselves and to others has a powerful influence on our mindset, actions, and even our overall success. Words are not just simple tools of communication. They are instruments that shape our reality. The language we use defines our perceptions, frames our experiences, and ultimately determines how we show up. And if you want to improve your mentality, one of the most impactful changes you can make is to upgrade the way you speak. Most of us don't pay enough attention to the language we use on a daily basis, especially when it comes to how we talk. The internal dialogue, the thoughts we have in our heads, often goes unnoticed, but it plays a crucial role in shaping our beliefs and attitude. If your internal language is filled with negativity, doubt, and self-criticism, it's no wonder that your mentality, these words create a narrative that holds you back, reinforcing beliefs that you're not good enough, not capable, or not deserving of success. Over time, these thoughts become internalized, and you begin to believe them as upgrading your language begins with changing the way you speak to yourself. Instead of using language that disempowers you, start choosing words that uplift and encourage you. Instead of saying, I can't do this, shift to, I'm still learning, or I'm capable of figuring this out. Instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, start saying, I am growing, and every step I take gets me closer to where I want. The words you use when speaking to yourself directly influence your self-esteem and confidence. If you continually tell yourself that you are inadequate or incapable, you'll start to believe it and your actions will follow suit. But when you replace negative language with affirming and empowering language, you create a mindset that is open to growth, learning, and possibility. In addition to changing the way you speak to yourself, it's also crucial to be mindful of the language communicating with others. The words we choose in our conversations can either build people up or tear them down. If you are constantly using critical, judgmental, or negative language, you are contributing to a toxic environment, not just for others, but for yourself as well. Negative language breeds negative energy, and it makes it harder to cultivate a positive, growth-oriented mindset. On the other hand, positive and supportive language fosters connection, trust, and collaboration. Speak to others with kindness, respect, and encouragement. You not only uplift them, but you also reinforce the positive mindset that you are working to cultivate in yourself. The language you use with others is a reflection of how you see the world and your role in it. If you're consistently using language that empowers, motivates, and inspires, you'll start to notice a shift in the energy around you. People will respond to you more positively, and this will reinforce your own growth sense of possibility. Furthermore, the way you frame challenges and setbacks in your language has a huge impact on your mindset. If you see obstacles as insurmountable problems, your mentality will be one of defeat and helplessness. But when you reframe challenges as opportunities for growth and learning, you begin to develop a mindset that is resilient and solution-oriented. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," try saying, "This is a challenge and I'm going to figure it out." Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I've learned something valuable." One of the most powerful shifts you can make in upgrading your language is to replace words of scarcity with words of abundance. Language that focuses on limitations, words like never or can't or impossible, creates a mindset that is closed off to new opportunities. When you start using words like abundance, opportunity, and growth, you begin to train your mind to see possibilities. Your language becomes a reflection of a mindset that is open, expansive, and forward-thinking. This shift in language is not about being overly optimistic or ignoring challenges. It's about framing your experiences in a way that empowers you. It's about changing the narrative from one of limitation and fear to one of possibility and empowerment. The words you use shape the way you experience life. And when you upgrade your language, you upgrade your mindset. Remember that language is a reflection of how you see yourself and the world around you. The more consciously you choose your words, whether in private or in conversation with others, the more you will see a transformation in your mentality. You'll start to believe in yourself more, approach challenges with confidence, and build deeper, more positive relationships with those around you. Upgrading your language is not just about changing the words you say, but about shifting the way you think and ultimately the way you live. In today's world, we are constantly bombarded with messages about quick fixes, overnight success, and the idea that dramatic change can happen in an instant. Whether it's through social media or self-help gurus, we are encouraged to make big, bold moves and experience rapid transformations. While these stories of intense breakthroughs can be inspiring, they often overlook a real, lasting success isn't built on intensity alone. It's built on consistency is the steady, reliable force that fuels long-term growth. Intensity, on the other hand, can be exciting and energizing in the short term, but it is often unsustainable. We've all experienced those moments when we dive into something with intense motivation, whether it's a new workout routine, a business project, or a personal goal. For a short period, we give everything we have, pushing ourselves to the limit, but eventually that energy fades. Our willpower runs out, and without a sustainable approach, we fall back into old habits. The problem with relying on intensity is that it often leads to burnout. When we push ourselves too hard too quickly, we might see some initial results, but those results are rarely sustainable. After a few intense bursts of effort, we find ourselves exhausted, frustrated, and disillusioned. We begin to question whether we're cut out for the challenge or whether it's even worth it to keep trying. This is why consistency is so much more powerful than intensity. It's what keeps us moving forward, even when the initial excitement fades. Consistency is about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. It's about making small, incremental progress day after day and trusting that those small actions will compound. It's not about waiting for motivation to strike or waiting for a perfect moment to take action. It's about committing to the process, regardless of how you feel. One of the greatest advantages of consistency is that it builds momentum. When you commit to doing something every day, even in small ways, you start to create a cycle of action that becomes self-sustaining. Each step forward, no matter how small, builds on the last one. And before you know it, you've created a momentum that's hard to stop. This is the beauty of consistent compound effect in action. Little things done consistently over time lead to massive results. Take, for example, the process of building a business. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of launching a new venture, setting big goals, and imagining rapid success. But the truth is that building a successful business is not about a single burst of intense energy. It's about showing up every day, making progress, and staying committed to the process. Feel on top of the world, and there will be days when you feel like you're not getting anywhere at all. But if you keep going, even when things aren't moving as quickly as you'd like, you'll start to labor. The same applies to fitness or any personal growth goal. It's tempting to think that one intense workout session will change everything, but the real transformation happens when you commit to a regular routine, day in and day out. Progress is often invisible in the beginning, but as you continue to show up, you begin to see the results, not just in your body, but in your mindset as well. Consistency builds mental strength, discipline, and resilience. It teaches you that progress doesn't always happen overnight, but it does happen if you keep putting. Moreover, it's about building trust in yourself. When you commit to something consistently, you demonstrate to yourself that you can be relied upon. You start to build a sense of integrity with yourself, where your actions align with your values and goals. Over time, this consistency strengthens your belief in your ability to succeed, and it makes it easier to stay committed to your journey, even when obstacles arise. Choosing consistency over intensity also allows for greater sustainability. Intensity can be exhilarating, but it's often followed by a period of recovery or rest. When you focus on consistency, you create a rhythm in your life that allows you to work steadily without burning out. You learn to pace yourself, to keep moving forward at a sustainable rate, and to celebrate progress along the way. In the end, it's not the dramatic bursts of energy that lead to lasting success. It's the small, consistent actions that accumulate over time. The key to growth is not to go all in and burn out quickly, but to commit to the long haul, trusting that every small step is moving you closer to your goal. Consistency is the true foundation of success, and when you choose it over intensity, you're setting yourself up for sustainable growth, lasting change, and a mentality that thrives on persistence. We all understand the importance of feeding our bodies with healthy, nourishing food. We know that what we eat directly affects our physical health, energy levels, and overall well-being. But often, we overlook a crucial element of our health, what we feed our minds. Just like our bodies require good nutrition to function optimally, our minds need quality input to thrive. Thoughts, ideas, and information we consume shape our mentality, influence our actions, and determine how we perceive the world around us. The mind, like the body, is incredibly sensitive to the inputs it receives. If you feed it negativity, doubt, and fear, it will grow fearful. If you nourish it with positivity, growth-oriented thoughts, and empowering ideas, it will become stronger, more resilient, and capable of achieving great things. The mind and body are not separate. They are deeply connected. What you put into one will directly affect the other. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with information through social media, news, conversations, and advertising, it can be easy to fall into the trap of consuming content that is toxic, mind-numbing, or distract. The constant stream of negativity in the media, the mindless scrolling through social media feeds, and the overwhelming flood of information can create mental clutter and confusion. When we allow ourselves to be consumed by this barrage of external influence, we risk damaging our mental health and losing focus on what truly matters. Just as we choose to eat foods that are rich in nutrients, we must also choose to feed our minds with nourishing content. This means being intentional about what we expose ourselves to, whether that's the books we read, the podcasts, or the conversations we engage in. The content we consume directly influences our mindset. If you spend your days consuming negative, listening to gossip, or watching content that promotes fear and anxiety, it's no surprise when you feel stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed. Your thoughts are being shaped by the environment you choose to immerse. On the other hand, when you feed your mind with content that inspires, educates, and challenges you, you begin to see the world through a different lens. When you read books that expand your thinking, listen to podcasts that challenge your assumptions, or engage in conversations that promote growth and learning, you begin to cultivate a mindset that is curious, positive, and resilient. Just as eating whole, nutritious foods gives your body the energy it needs to function at its best, feeding your mind with positive, growth-oriented content gives you the mental clarity, focus, and energy you need to pursue your goals and live your best life. Feeding your mind is also about being mindful of the people you surround yourself with. The people in your life can have a significant impact on your mindset. Spend your time with individuals who are negative, critical, or small-minded. It can be hard to maintain a positive and growth-oriented mentality. The language they use, the stories they tell, and the energy they bring can influence the way you think and feel. In contrast, when you surround yourself with people who are positive, uplifting, and driven, you naturally begin to elevate your own thinking. The conversations you engage in, the ideas you exchange, and the support from these individuals will nourish your mind and help you grow. It's important to remember that feeding your mind isn't just about avoiding negativity, it's also about actively seeking out the content and experiences that will help you grow. This means being intentional with your time and energy. It means choosing to invest in yourself by seeking out opportunities to learn, grow, and expand your perspective. The more you expose yourself to new ideas, perspectives, and challenges expands. And as your mind expands, so does your capacity to take on new challenges, overcome obstacles, and achieve your goal. Just as we need to regularly exercise our bodies to stay healthy, we need to regularly exercise our minds by feeding them with challenging, inspiring, and thought-provoking content. This doesn't mean you need to be constantly learning or consuming content. There is also value in quiet reflection and mental, but it does mean that we must be intentional about the quality of the input we allow into our mind. Our thoughts are the foundation of our actions. And if we want to create a life of purpose and fulfillment, we must feed our minds with the nourishment they thrive.